The ability to speak clearly, communicate effectively, and connect with others is vital for success in business and success in life. Today, I will introduce to you a strategic concept that will give you a roadmap to enhance your public speaking skills. So, welcome to Public Speaking Made Simple. In today's program, we will begin the journey to examine 5 important concepts. And each you need to learn them, apply them, and master them when you want to enhance your public speaking, communication, your leadership skills. This program stands on 5 important pillars. One, you will learn about the speaker's toolkit. It's important to really take the time to understand what is the speaker's toolkit. And today we will begin our journey by examining exactly what this is. Second, we will be looking at audience attention. What are those essential things that you need to know to command attention, pique interest, arouse desire, make impact, and move your ideal listener into action? This area of our discussion will go deep into this. Third, we will also be looking at audience connection. You see, you can speak with people. It doesn't mean that you're connecting with your audience. And there are important elements of that audience that you need to understand to effectively communicate with your audience base. So this area of the discussion, we will go deep into this analysis to ensure that you have the written formula to truly master the art of connecting with your audience. We will then move on to look at the deal maker. One of the things that we talk about is communicating with an objective in mind. And you want to know that you are able to achieve the targeted performance outcome in which you're setting out to speak based on. So we will examine this and give you very clear step-by-step approaches to ensure that you're able to master the deal maker. Finally, in this series of program, Public Speaking Made Simple, we will also be examining performance optimization. Of course, we will be looking at performance optimization in the context of your speaking skills, your communication abilities, and how well you're able to connect with people in business or in life. I begin today's program again by looking at exactly what is the speaker's toolkit. What I'm about to give to you, it's a toolkit. And as a public speaker, as an effective communicator who desire to connect with people to make impact, what I'm about to express and say to you is very important. The very first thing that you want to consider in your toolkit is your ideal listener. Every effective speaker, every effective communicator that is genuinely setting out to connect with people, you want to ask yourself, who is your ideal listener? And why is this so important? Because the more you understand about your ideal listener, it is the better you're able to innovate your content, develop your content, design your content to achieve what we call predictable outcome. All right. So as a speaker, you want to invest your time, invest your talent, invest your resources to identify your ideal listener. For example, your ideal listeners may be business leaders. Your ideal listeners could be housewives. Your ideal listeners can be sports personalities. Whatever it is, you need to invest that time, talent, and resources to truly understand who is your ideal listener. The second arsenal that you need in your toolkit or tool that you need in your toolkit is to identify the listener specific needs. So now that you understand who you're speaking to, it's important for you to now pause a bit and ask yourself, what are their specific interests? What are their specific needs? And let's go back to, for example, you're targeting business people, rising stars in business. So this is your ideal listener. So now that you know that this is your ideal listener, you want to ask yourself, secondly, what are these specific needs? Because it is the ability to identify their specific needs is going to help your content, your storyline to be more relevant to their needs, their wants, and their expectations, and their dreams, and their hopes, and their aspirations. So you're asking yourself now, what are their specific needs? For example, a rising star in business may have multiple needs. For example, they may need access to capital. Another example, they may need access to markets. They may need access to effective human resources, top-notch human resources that, specialized human resources. What are their specific needs? Do you know? The more you know about their specific needs, and the better you are to innovate in alignment or speak in alignment with their specific needs, is what's going to set you up to be more relevant. All right. It's what's going to set you up to be more immediate. It's what's going to set you up to achieve desired results and impact with the ideal listener. All right. So these are just some examples of things that you must consider when you want to be an effective public speaker, an effective communicator who is now able to connect with your listener. This is vital for business, and this is vital for life. So the third tool that you need in your toolkit, we're going to call this ability to reach expectations. So we look at two important concepts. One, we look at your ability to identify who is your listeners, who is your audience. Second, we look at your ability to identify your listeners' specific needs. And third, you want to assess your ability to reach the listener's expectations. Example again, you're speaking to business leaders. Now you know their specific needs. They want to understand capital markets because they need to access capital. Are you the best person to deliver your message to them on capital market? So here is where you want to assess your ability. For example, someone with the capability to speak to businesses on capital market most likely will understand various type of financial instruments. For example, they may talk about debt instruments and equity instruments and credit instruments and hard money lending. And each of these financial instruments operate different. And the differences in these functionality of financial tools, your listeners may have a very keen interest to know this. As a rising star in business or a star in business, you need capital, but you also need capital at low interest rates. So the more you're able to speak to their interests, is the better you're going to be able to command attention, pique interest, arouse desire, make impact, and win with your listeners. All right. So again, debt instruments function different from equity instruments. With debt instruments, depending on how that debt instrument is leveraged, you may be subject to the concept that we call PITI, principal and interest, tax, and insurance. On equity financing, you're not necessarily obligated or challenged to pay this financial debt on a monthly basis because it's equity, and equity has a different way in which it's functioned. You're asking yourself, do you have the ability to speak to rising stars in business and stars in business on this particular issue now that you know these are some of their specific needs? Another example, as a financial expert, you are not able to only to discuss financial markets, but you're able to also discuss smart ways to access, because there's one thing to understand financial markets. There are many people that understand financial markets, but they just don't know how to access. So as you develop your public speaking skills, you want to distinguish yourself by not only knowing about financial markets, but knowing how to access. Also, you can not only invest the time to learn, apply, and master how the financial instruments or how to access, you can also learn and master how to leverage. So you're sharing those information with rising stars and stars in business. So they know how to, the financial instruments that are available, they know how to access it, and they also know how to leverage to optimize profitability. All right. And the last thing that I'm going to say on this, perhaps you're also the expert that is working with them to understand capital mitigation. So your ability to truly understand this body of knowledge and communicate this body of knowledge effectively to your ideal listeners based on their specific needs is what's going to set you up to win. All right. So the last concept that we're going to be looking at here is your ability to exceed expectations. So all the information I've given so far, I know a lot of it represents not only reaching the expectations of the ideal client, but also or the ideal listener, but it perhaps exceeds their expectations because they might have simply want to know how to access capital, but you went on to talk about capital access, capital leverage, capital mitigation. So you're giving them a lot of information here about their needs. You see, to be an effective speaker, an effective communicator that is truly able to connect with your listeners, these are just some of the things that you would need to learn, apply, and master to optimize your communication skills, your public speaking skills, so you can now better command attention, pique interest, arouse desire, make impact, move your listeners into action. So I trust you would have enjoyed today's podcast. Today we looked at the first credit of public speaking made simple. Now, in starting this program, what I established is that public speaking made simple stands on 5 important pillars. One, you will learn about the speaker's toolkit. And today we cover this. The next program, we will begin to look at things like audience attention, how to win audience attention. Then we will move on to look at audience connection. You want to know that you are connecting with your listeners. All right. Fourth, we will look at the deal maker. This is how to achieve your targeted performance in public speaking, because of course you're not speaking publicly because you can speak publicly or because you want to speak publicly. You have an objective behind speaking. Is either you want to enhance visibility of your personal brand or your corporate brand. So you're looking for visibility, reach and impact, client conversion, and so forth. We will go deeper into this body of knowledge. Last but not least, this last pillar of this program will look at performance optimization. Now, at every step of the game, you want to be certain that you're able to optimize your public speaking skills, your communication skills, and how you're connecting with your listeners. So again, I trust you would have enjoyed this program. In the event that you need more information, feel free to connect with me. I'll be so happy to provide more information on this topic, public speaking made simple. Be blessed and see you in lesson 2.